But this is a Hopen third round match between maggiethekatt, dyrewulfe, miarenoko, and crono200. We did start off with a spoon as the starting item. And right now it looks like it was a Porum and was it Porum Palin? Very twinsy start. Oh, double Porum. Okay, so that means maybe a little bit of a struggle for everybody to find some offense around here. You see probably a whole lot of looting that you wouldn't normally check. Crono's going to check out the demist spot, and oh surprise, A, my cropping is bad, but B, the vanilla demist. Now, the only downside, the only thing I don't like necessarily about checking the spot early is you want to do it at a time when you can actually kill what's there. And I don't... It's going to be tough. Now, you do have, with 2 Porums, you do have use of twin magic, and Crono is showing us how awesome that can be. I'm not going to get a whole lot of cast out of that with only 50 MP, so 2 should do the trick, but we'll see. Maggie's also making the check for demist. It's going to be pleasantly surprised. Tier 2 is always a good find early in shops. Usually want to buy. I think I personally tend to go around 50 or so, but defense is not really what we're looking for with this particular team. It's offense. And Crono, good use of twin. X2 to get that down. We're going to see what Rydia's mom has for us, and it is, wow, it is the adamant. Alright, so vanilla demist giving us one part of go mode. We are looking for an adamant, a legend sword, and a way to Zeramis, which would be either the pass or the darkness crystal. Either one of those would be great. Pass would be preferred, but it really kind of depends on the situation the runners find themselves in. Getting that adamant out of the way early is awesome. That can be one of those spots that you don't see people check very often, and especially, like I mentioned before, with a double Porum start, not everybody may have twin magic on the mind, therefore thinking, hey, I couldn't kill demist even if it was there, what am I going to do about it? And then you put that off, and sure enough, you're not checking that demist 30-45 minutes into the seed. So Miara is going to give us a look at what is on Mount Hobbs. Everyone else doing a whole bunch of looting with this team. That is not surprising. So Dark Knight Cecil is pretty nice to find. Vanilla Bomb. It's going to be a little bit of a drawn out fight because you have to deal with the explode phase. But again, our problem with this team is offense, and Cecil in his Dark Knight form does not really add a lot to this. Twin will help, but you're going to want to save a twin cast for after the bomb takes enough damage, it starts to explode, and then it turns into 6 bombs. And since your AoE is going to be twin magic, unless you have a J item, it could be a little tricky. Maggie checking out Troy Castle, hoping to find something pretty awesome there. Boreas is actually pretty nice given the team makeup at this point. It doesn't really solve the long-term problem of we need offense, but for the first couple fights, especially this Mob Bomb fight, it's going to be really useful. That explode does a pretty hefty, decent amount of damage, and it's going unfortunately that damage is going to render Blizzard kind of useless because it's scaled on your hit points. So Crono takes a reset. Miare, having checked Toroi Castle and getting that Boreas, makes good use of it, clears Mount Hobbs, and now has a Dark Knight on the team. I'll probably see a whole bunch more shopping. Again, offense is the issue that this team currently has. So anything J items or really just something to get us through the first couple of fights would be really useful. Alright, so we got Antline Cave up next for miarenokos. Our first racer is going to be checking that out. Would like to find more J items to get us past this boss fight. It's about 800 HP. Seeing the Dark Knight Cecil might inspire the racers to check out a bunch of shops hoping to find a black sword. It's not terribly great, but given what the rest of our party can do, it'd be decent. And it's pretty cheap at only 2000 GP. Failing that, our best find would probably be a heroine robe. Would make, well, it could make twin magic ineffective depending on which character you actually decide to use it on. Dancing dagger is nice. Unfortunately, we don't have any character that can equip it. Alright, Chrono and Dire. Alright, so you see Dyrewulfe deciding to use twin magic on the bombs, making use of that AoE. So that's pretty nice. Maggie's also going to get their adamant. That's pretty awesome. So the one thing to keep an eye on is going to be if Chrono and Dyrewulfe make that demist check at some point in time. It's almost one of those seeds now where you kind of hope it's not a magma key seed, because you're more likely to check that spot if it's a hook seed, as opposed to if it's a magma seed, then you just go on your very way doing magma things. Not a terrible. Okay, so Silent Staff is an adequate melee tool. Unfortunately, Plorum's strength stat is not that great. We see Mill on Z, which is fantastic to find at this spot. Okay, so then I see Miare Cecil is swinging a red sword. That is the black sword, so that's going to be pretty nice. But more importantly, because Mill on Z is undead, if you found Cure 2, and we found him pretty early, you could do about 300 to 400 damage a pop on him. And 800 HP, that fight's going to go pretty quick, and it's going to get us a Pow Pow Power Shirt. Not the worst find in the world. Our party is hurting for strength, and Plorum can equip that, so if we find a good bow and arrow, it might get us through a couple fights. But not progression per se, so the next spot we're probably going to see is Full defense. Maggie's also heading into Antline Cave. Dyrewulfe is doing Fabul first, it looks like. Must feel pretty confident with the party going on. I must have missed a black sword in a pretty common spot. So otherwise, this might be a tricky fight. And it's a moon boss, and it is D-Lunars. Okay, this is actually a pretty decent boss to find here, mostly because of the undead factor, so you can use Cure 2s on it. They should have about 700 to 800 HP each. Where it's going to be a problem is because there's two of them. The melee at this spot, while not exceptionally damaging, is damaging enough at our party's current HP level. And if you don't leave two of them and you only leave one, then that one is going to counter everything with fire. And this fire attack does 20% of your HP. So 5 of those and your party's done if you don't have any healing. So, might be a little tricky, but I think it's a good boss to find here. You can also attempt to go with ye old Lunar Frog strats, which after 6 rounds they will cast Breath, which inflicts basically every status element in the book. You can reflect that, and if you reflect that, it turns them into toads, and they can't really do nothing. So, alright, so Dyrewulfe decided to use Twin to get one of them down. Now, any hit is going to counter with fire. And okay. That was a double twin cast. That's pretty neat. So, those are down. Let's see if Miare has just as easy a chance or time here. And let's see what we get from Fabul Defense. It is a Pan. Okay, well, Pan is a pretty nice item to find because it does grant 2 key item checks on its own, and finding it this early means Sheila 1 and Sheila 2 will not be done on separate trips. Downside is we need underground access to get that. So we still don't know how we're going to get to underground, and only since we know where demist is, we know what demist gives. Ordeals and Baron Inn are the only two spots. Now Direwulfe did skip Antlion Cave, so I was going to do that right now. Maggie is going to join Miare, who just finished the football defense. Very nicely done. Miare gets banned. See how now Maggie did not pick up Dark Knight Cecil, and neither did Chrono. So while that could still be on the table for Chrono, and quite honestly, it could be on the table for Maggie, they just might not feel comfortable doing it with two forums. That's understandable. And two forums does not is not very comfortable doing anything other than healing. But at Twin, Twin could be a saving grace, but because it scales off of one of the Twins' willpower or wisdom stat, or whatever the black magic stat is, and Forums is not good, so this is not going to do as much damage as you like, but enough, and it gets the job done when combined with J items. So 3 of our runners are through for bull defense. Alright, so Maggie acquires their pan. Usually you see after Fabul, that's kind of when the looting run starts, the looting circuit, where you'll hit Troya if you feel comfortable with the money, and then Silvera, Mysidia, and maybe Agart. Sometimes you skip Agart because you don't want to double dip it, hoping to find a Magma Key. Just depends on what items you have at the time. Are you missing something critical? But we do see Miare hitting up Silvera. We'll probably do Mysidia next, and then the next choice is going to be: do you feel comfortable enough with this team to do Baron Inn, or do you want that Dark Knight Cecil turned into a Paladin and do mount ordeals right away? Chrono with the extra levels is probably going to have an easier time here with his Mount Hops fight. And Maggie is almost exactly following Miare's steps as Miare does hit Mysidia next. We'll see if Agart is on the shopping trip. Mysidia does not have any good items. Softens. Well, Succubi is an oft overlooked item, I'll say that much. Alright, so Maggie is going to do Baron Inn first. This is going to be pretty tricky with just 2 forums. First boss, not for me that much of an issue, only 400 HP. The second boss, though, has 4,000 HP and is a pretty devastating physical attack for this particular party to boot. It's probably going to one-hit KO anybody, but man, that cane is enticing. So CPU, will be annoying. Probably don't want to risk a twin cast here. I would like to have a Fang if possible, like a Blizzard or a Lip Bolt. Reason why twin cast could be kind of risky is while Comet cannot be reflected, Flare can. And that would probably take out a character. And Maggie did take out both of the attacker and defender and did not get the CPU down in time to avoid Globe 199, which is in its script as soon as they both go down. Miare running into the same issue. Might see a reset. Maggie did. I think that's the right call to make. Alright, this time Maggie takes care of the CPU first. defender, not knowing what to do, just has to heal its friend, the attacker. Grandiose 3 HP. We are doing the traditional route of get the defender first, avoid the healing, and we see the second boss is Milon and Friends. This is a pretty decent spot. There's a couple interesting strats to keep in mind here. When all the zombies are down, that puts a physical attack in Milon's rotation. When the zombies are up, you'll see he'll do Go My Children, which forces a drain cast. As long as there is a zombie up, you won't see a physical attack from this party. And that's really what we have to worry about in the spot, other than the HP count. The downside is if you leave the zombies alone and Milon goes down, then they actually start attacking on their own, and their attack power is through the roof. So, Dyrewulfe deciding to get the zombies down first. The spot is slow enough, I think that's probably the right strategy here, because you can just life up, but every counter is going to be a lit 1, or every attack is going to be a lit 1 counter. Well, that's not too much to worry about initially, given the party's HP, and especially if you just acknowledge the fact that a character is going to go down as soon as a physical attack, you can run into an issue where you're lifing the character and then they get lit 1 right back down. Let's see how all three of our owners handle this. Alright, so Miare and Maggie are both kind of relying on twin magic here. I think that's a good call. If we had a little better ranged damage, then that probably makes a little more sense. But I think the spot is slow enough that you can get away with a few life potions here, and hopefully not have to worry too much about the lit 1s. But that is, I think, going to be the trickiest part. Maggie is the first one to get down Milon Z. Well done. So let's see what character they get. Well, we know what character they get, and it's Kane. What's the key item? It is a hook. Oh boy, wouldn't be Hopen Seed without being a hook seed, right? Alright, so Baronin is hook. Oh, I should probably drop down in Discord. Alright, anyway. So, you check the hook now, or do you do minor deals first? Is going to be the decision our runners are faced with here. Me personally, I would do ordeals first. But that's me. I tend to also always think that ordeals is going to pay off. Alright, so Maggie's going to finish up the shopping. Now that they know Magwaki is most likely not on the table, you kind of don't mind the double dip agart shop here if that's the case. Even that it's not like terribly time consuming. Looks like Chrono got through no problem whatsoever. Dyrewulfe is making the play to check D-Mist. Good call. And that's one nice thing about finding the hook here, is that you're more likely to check this spot before diving hook. Oh, Chrono did not get Kane. Okay, so Chrono's going to give it another. Oh, I'm sorry. Chrono hadn't gone yet. Dyrewulfe got the Kane. We're good. So Dyrewulfe will be super happy. We'll get an adamant here, and that is one part of our go mode. And then the question becomes, as mentioned before, we've got are we going to do ordeals, or are we going to do the hook? Now, sometimes you might want to check hook early just to get the information and the character. You know, if it's a free fight, you know, maybe you just don't do ordeals anyway. But I think given that A, we have a Cecil in our party, and B, we're not like, we'd still have to do 6,000 damage to that King Queen double spot. That's gonna be kind of tricky. So I agree with Maggie going up Ordeals right now. Let's see. Chrono is diving Baron in. Dyrewulfe finishing up his shopping. Is going to hit Kaipo. Exits are super useful. Actually, everything in that shop is useful. Kaipo kind of paying off here. First fight is Kaipo guards. Probably not necessarily what you'd want to see here, because it's a free fight, and this spot is one of the easier spots in the game because its physical attack is not very damaging whatsoever. So a couple twin casts will get it done. If you think your damage is fast enough, you don't even have to worry about an hourglass. If you have an AoE, the officer will retreat, and that'll make it go a little quicker. Maggie does use an hourglass, so they're going to have to burn through the HP count. They'll cost about 20-30 seconds. But in this spot, it's only about 3,000 HP. So with a cane now, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Miare is oh no, Miare's getting, okay, I see. Is getting his hook right now, so might actually be checking the character first and the boss for some information. The second boss is Bahamut. That's also kind of nice to find here. This is going to be free provided we have Star Veils. Did Maggie pick up Star Veils? I don't see any Star Veils in their inventory. This is going to be kind of tricky. Can you do 3,000 HP before the count ends? That's going to be a little rough. We might see a reset here. Let's see if the count's at 2 already. I think oh, well, that's the other thing you could do. Can you time Kane's jump to avoid the Mega Nuke? Now, this spot's magic is pretty decent. Fairly certain it's going to wipe the party. And we're about to find out. Maybe it'll miss? Nah, it doesn't miss. That's a lot of damage. So that might cost Maggie quite a bit of time while they finish up their shopping circuit and find some Star Veils. Oh, looks like they're going to give it another shot. Didn't save in between. Unfortunately, this boss will be pretty quick. Miare? Oh, did Miare not initially check Demist? I think that'll be all 4 of our runners who picked it up. I can check Chrono's stream right now. Chrono does not have the oh. Yes, Chrono does have the adamant, so that's all 4 runners who have the adamant. So no Crouching Tiger, Hidden Demist, keeping our key items away. So we'll see if Maggie's able to pull this off without any Star Veils. With a Silk Web, might be doable. It's going to be a race to 3,000. Dyrewulfe taking on the Kaipo guards, no problem here. Chrono wrapping up Baron in, making good use of the twin magic. Just want to get that cane, because absolutely you want to get that cane. And Miare, let's see, that was exit Silkweb for, that was the Kaipo, if I remember correctly. You sell the Crystal Shield, or know you're going to get a Cecil? I usually do. Quite honestly, I tend to find myself selling every single shield I get. Probably don't need to buy that many exits, because most likely we're going to at least have a Porum in our endgame team. Chrono's a good job getting down the Milan fight, so Kane get, Hook get, as Maggie got it. Oh, just missed the timing on the jump. That was a good attempt. But I think we're going to see them eventually leave. Oh, they're going to give it another shot. At least this time they saved in between. And what's kind of working against us here is that we're also seeing it's a back attack, so Bahamut starts off with an extra number, but the damage isn't too bad here. Miare is going to head to Avalon. I don't think we'll see an immediate run. I think this is more of an information and character get situation here. But if it's a free boss, and we got coffin, if we have something like a coffin or whatnot, or even a incredibly good character, that's gonna give Miare a really big lead. Alright, so dyrewulfe gets past Bahamut, is going to be our first runner to show us what is at Ordeals. Magma Key would be huge, but the real reward is Cecil is now Paladin. And we did see a hook or a ogre axe in one of the chests. It's the twin harp. So do our Ordeals runners follow that up and decide to go Ordeals into twin harp before the hook? And we see, oh, I didn't see the boss. Oh, I'm terrible. But Sid is the character, not an awful find. Not terribly game changing either. We'll wear that ogre axe pretty well, but I mean, between a Cecil and a Kane, we kind of got the melee part covered. Although Miare did not do Ordeals, so let's see if he decides to head right in. I did get the first timing down. Are we 2 for 2? Oh, that is really well done. Gonna need a few. It's kind of funny to see it will shake, but it doesn't actually like open its wings and mouth to mega nuke you. Alright, Chrono taking on that same Bahamut fight. And nicely done, dodges another mega nuke. Should be almost there. Nice. Oh, Maggie gets past the Bahamut with no star veils. That is a very skillful thing. I don't think I could have done that, that's for sure. So definitely save before that. And then we're gonna get our Paladin and find out whether or not they decide to chase the twin harp. Dyrewulfe does not want to do music and is going to head, looks like, down to Avalon. And at this point, you kind of, with this much content done, I think you kind of commit to that. You ain't wrong. Let's see, is he gonna check? Yeah, so he's gonna get that ogre axe right away, which is, if we haven't found a good weapon for Cecil and Kane, that's gonna be a big help. And oh my goodness. Hello, everybody who just finished the Hopen match. Don't spoil it for me, please, if it's at all possible. I only caught like the first hour and a half. But yeah, it's a Hopen seed. So let me give you guys a recap for everybody else who is just joining us here. We did start off with Double Porum, aka River's favorite start. The two big kickers here thus far is that Vanilla D-Mist did have our Adamant. So now we are only looking for a Legend Sword and a Way to the Moon. It is most likely a hook seed. We found the hook at Baron Inn, but Ordeals gave us a twin harp. So the question is going to be, do you check the twin harp and hope to find the magma key? Miare, it looks like, is saying yes. Dyrewulfe is heading right back down. The most swag thing we saw thus far, and I gotta give a shout out to Maggie, went up and found Bahamut with Porum Kane, in the second Ordeals fight and did not have Star Veils, and after a couple attempts was actually able to dodge every single Mega Nuke with Kane's jump. Pretty impressive, if you ask me. So Maggie's got the music. Let's see if they decide to do that. Dyrewulfe is going to be doing some looting here. The first trap chest you're going to find in the Evelyn Cave is the Staleman. Not a terribly high experience fight, so you'll often not see runners take it, but it does open up the trap chest loot pools in the T4 loot pool, so you can find a Crystal Sword, an X-Cal, pretty much anything other than an adamant armor. So given this party makeup, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Staleman fight taken here. It is a little slow, and we haven't seen anything to necessarily exploit the ice weakness. But most importantly, Dire is going to see what the boss is, and it is either Rubicant or Elements. Something evenly distributed content, blah. Elements fight isn't too bad. If you watched a earlier run than earlier league match, you probably got a good look at how Elements at Rubicant can be. Chrono looks like might not have Star Veil, so we'll see if Chrono can pull off the same swag move that Maggie pulled off. Looks like Miare is deciding, yes, I want to do Ordeals first. Always do Ordeals, it always pays off. That's what people tell me. But I mean, given this party, we need offense, and having a Dark Knight Cecil to do anything other than anchor, that Black Sword is nice in the early game, but it's not really going to help when our goal is 20k damage. So Maggie is doing the Mom Bomb fight, so is getting the Cecil. This was a pretty tricky fight to do with just Porum and a Dark Knight, as you might imagine. So at this point, though, having acquired a Kane, having acquired a Cecil, won't see much of a problem. Might even still see a Twin Magic. Yeah, there we go. Bella Twins called. They want their gimmick back. But Twin Magic does good right here, taking out all but one of the bombs. Dyrewulfe is going to take the Mad Ogre fight. Does have the Ogre Axe, so it's going to be pretty quick. And Chrono did get past the Bahamut fight. So that's one of those things where, you kind of want to avoid doing as much shopping sometimes early, because you're thinking, well, I'm giving everybody else 9 or 10 minutes head start. But then you go into a fight like this and you haven't found Star Veils, and it can be such a roadblock. So both Maggie and Chrono got past it, which is really nice to see. You can see on the other hand from Miare's screen how easy this fight can be if you do have a Star Veil. But Dyrewulfe could be the first runner to get underground. We're going to see how he handles it, and that could be a pretty big deal. Now, one issue about seeing the Twin Harp is that if the Twin Harp happens to have the Magma Key, if you feel like you can get the Hook Boss down quickly, Twin Harp is about, on a good team, it's about a 4.5 minute play. It's, with this team, probably going to be a little more than that. And you run into the issue of, well, maybe sometimes do you have its magic defense is really good. Now, we don't have to worry about that, because we don't really have any magic offense, so to speak of, outside of Twin Magic. So we'll see. It's one of those things where if it happens to have the Magma Key, you've saved a little bit of time. Because, the hook, if you include the Ogre fight, and if it's not a free, is going to be about 10 minutes or so. But Chrono and Miare get Kluya's blessing, now have acquired a Paladin. And let's see, now, one issue we're also going to run into here, before we even get to Ruby, is going to be the King Queen Eblon spot. It's about 6,000 HP, and going to be the highest physical damage that we've seen thus far. And is also going to be pretty fast. And we don't have a ton of defensive items. I do see a Zeus Gauntlet in his inventory, so that's going to help a little bit. But this can be a tricky fight. usually you'll often see runners make use of Cecil's cover here if you happen to have good offense here. If you have decent damage output, you have Cecil handle recovering, it can buy you just enough time to get that 6,000 damage done. But this spot, it can be tricky, so Direwulfe is making sure to get as much of his setup done as he can. And Crono's gonna wrap up shopping, probably find Star Veils, and be like, yeah, those would have been useful 3 seconds ago. There's the Star Veil shop. Maggie just found it. Alright, so it looks like Miara has wrapped up ordeals. Will also be faced with the same Harper Hook check. And Dyrewulfe is going to give us a first look at who the first boss is. How cursed is this Hopen Seed actually? Alright, double checking. And it is Crono200. This could be kind of rough. Now, the wave isn't too bad here with 6,000 HP, but it's fast. So that first hit is probably going to take out a character. The wave's probably going to do around, well, Simbu's saying 240, so I'll take his word for it. Thank you. But having that Blizzard Spear, having the Blizzard Spear seems optimal because Crono200, when he doesn't have a wave up, is weak to ice. But I think at this point, the strat is going to be, like Simbu saying in chat, take the waves. You have 2 white mages, so you can probably get through 300 HP per on your character with a couple Cure 2s. And once the waves are up, the water's up, he's only going to cast waves. So if your Porums can heal enough, you only have to take that first physical attack. So I think that might be the plan that you see Direwulfe do here. Let's see what he decides. Okay, so he wanted to use the Assassin Dagger to get him to go first. Assassin Dagger does grant you a little bit of a speed boost. Is queuing up a Thor Rage, it looks like, so is not going to necessarily play the waves. Maybe worried about the first one. Might not be familiar with exactly how much damage Crono200 does here. Is keeping all of his melee attackers in the back row. So that means pretty much as soon as Crono200 breathes on a Porum. And okay, yeah, we see around 300 damage. Both Porums can hit or can survive this. So that's gonna be pretty nice, but you may struggle a little bit by having the Porums in the back row. Slow on Crono200 totally makes sense. Hopefully this will be the last physical attack that Direwulfe actually sees. As Maggie and Crono just received the information on their boss possibility. We do see a rare occasion, as mentioned in chat, of the Cecil magic casting animation. Any cure is a good cure at this point. But that's probably... Okay, so Kane's going to survive. He did get the... So given the HP totals, a wave, even with this HP count, is probably going to wipe his team. It's just, this spot is so fast, I'm not entirely certain that trying to keep up with the Qs... Okay, so we do get 1 Cure 2 off. If we get is it going to do with okay. This is giving our other runners a little bit of a chance to catch up here, though. Oh, don't feel bad. I did the exact same thing on the first one. Like, okay, we're going to get to see who the boss is. Let me write down what this item is. Oh, I missed it. It's Sid. But did land, the one thing that he was probably gunning for from the start was landing a jump with the Blizzard Spear, trying to exploit that ice weakness. So probably see a save. Yeah, we're going to see a save here. Now, if this is Rubicant, that Kane rocking the Blizzard Spear is going to put in a lot of work. Now, if it's Elements, it gets a little bit of a different fight. We saw one good example of how you can cheese this fight if you have a way of casting damage, magical damage to Milan Z. Our best case, though, would be some kind of a Cure 2, but I don't think that's what's going to happen here. So, if it's well, let's do the bosses first before we even go into Elements. It is Elements. Okay, so Milan Z first is going to alternate between physical attacks and Cure. When enough damage has been done directly, he will transform into Rubicant, which is often the difficult part of this seed, because this Rubicant does not care about counters, will just cycle through Fire 2, Fire 3, and Glare on your entire party. And if the magic is high enough and your HP is low enough, it can effectively put your team on a soft timer. To avoid him transforming to Rubicant in the first place, you can attempt to deal indirect damage and only reflect damage off. Unfortunately, the only way we have to do that at this point would probably be bouncing Cure 2 and attempting to take advantage of an undead vulnerability. Fire 3 would be awesome to have here. Fire 2 would be awesome to have. Any kind of fire spell would exploit the weakness of Elements fight here, but it's going to be a little tricky. Is he going to go with the Cure 2 on him? If you use it on him directly, it's still going to do direct damage, so you may trigger Transform. Now, we do have white arrows, so that's going to do pretty nice damage, all things considered, for white arrows, which is like the second lowest arrow in the game, or third lowest arrow in the game. Gonna rely on Berserk, so let's see what happens when we get to the Rubicant spot. That's going to be the real tricky part here. Now on Miare's side, he's also deciding to eschew the waves. Same thing on Maggie's end. They're also deciding don't want to mess with the wave pool, even though it's not terribly damaging. I've seen just Kainazo in enough spots kind of gives you a little bit of post-Kainazo traumatic stress syndrome. I know I've had it. But at 6,000 HP, if Kane and that Blizzard Spear get a good jump off, like we saw from Dyrewulfe's screen, that's going to do a huge chunk of damage. We're going to see, only about 280 damage. I think at this point, like, the runners may not even necessarily be aware of exactly how much damage it does. So you see Maggie reset might now alter their strategy, say, hey, we can heal through this. Let's just do that instead. Alright, so Dyrewulfe does get to the Ruby fight. Now you might be essentially on a soft timer here. Might do an attack first, but you're going to see Fire 2, Fire 3, and then Glare. Chat does point out Ruby in this particular fight does have the mage weakness, so if mute arrows or a rune axe, let's look into his inventory, hoping to find one. Oh, there's mute arrows. Dancing Dire's not going to help. And this is, the Fire 3, this is going to do quite a bit here, 700. Even if they survive this, which they do, what comes next is essentially Fire 4. And Paladin Cecil's paltry Cure 2 is probably not going to survive here. Now, there's a couple other options you can... Oh, never mind. That did a lot less damage than I was expecting. Okay, so 600. But he's fast enough that he may not have time to... Well, let's see. Banking on this Blizzard Spear getting the job done. Oh, it didn't trigger a transform. Okay. So Dyrewulfe was hoping that a damage spike, essentially, from 2 jumps would trigger at least a transform into the other stage. Now, this fight is about 22k HP. If you divide those evenly, you're probably looking at about a little over 6,000 and change. This would also be a good time, as Penguinator points out in chat, if you have any kind of damage-resistant for element resistant gear such as Dragoon equipment. Anything that's going to get that cane to survive just a little bit longer. So Miare does get a nice. Okay, well done. Miare does get past the Kenazo fight. Takes a couple casualties in the process, but that's not an issue. We're gonna get a free heal here. So Miare's probably gonna head back and immediately save. Yeah, I'm down with this. Let's see, Maggie should be pretty close. If you can just get the a good Blizzard Spear jump off, then I think we're okay. Direwulfe's plan looks like is just get past the Elements fight, or the Mill on Z part of the Elements fight, and then save all your big damage. This would be one case where those Boreases we found early on, our runners would love to have back, instead of using them on a Mom Bomb fight. Chrono's actually going to loot Eblon Castle. This, as you see, our other three runners are kind of having issues here, so finding something like an X-Cal in a trap chest could be super useful. And we do see a Moon Veil in Chrono's inventory, so you know, if you find enough damage, a way to reflect, if you really want to reflect a bunch of cure spells from Forum, that's an option. Alright, so Maggie, good job getting past the Kenazo fight, is now going to save and join Dyrewulfe and miarenoko in the Elements fight. Seems that, as far as levels go, looks like they're pretty close. Yeah, it looks like Miare might have one or two. But I mean, the runners all basically did the same amount of content going in. Maggie's a little bit lower. Now you don't have to worry about counterattacks from physical spots in this Ruby spot. So like I do mentioned in chat, Berserk could work. But at that point, yeah, you would have to not back row. We haven't seen the Dwarf Axe yet. So getting them to survive to that point might be a little tricky, but as far as our options go, that's as good as any that we've seen so far. Alright, so Dyer and Miare both get to the... Is Miare not doing the Blizzard Spear? Alright, so Fire 2 down. I think at this point you might want to just pour all your healing into Kane. You just need him to survive, hopefully on 2 jumps. What I really want to see is... Okay, there's Fire 3 on Miare's side. This should do about 300. One twin goes down, the other one survives. But Glare's coming. Well, Cecil will survive it. I don't think... Well, Miare might not have found the Blizzard Spear. So that's going to give Direwulfe a pretty nice advantage. Unfortunately, with only Cecil in the party, these spells that were multi-target now are single cast, and that's going to do a lot more damage. Direwulfe does get past the Ruby spot, so now that we are in this Kenazo, because the first one wasn't enough Kenazo in our lives, but this one is not HP related when he does his wave attack. So I think a Zerk Cecil, yep, and he's gonna start zerking his characters. Direwulfe is in pretty good shape here to be our first runner to get underground. Now, I didn't get a chance to look at the standings beforehand. I do believe Direwulfe is sitting at 7 points. So that means everybody else should be at either 7 or 6. which means the winner of this is going to have a chance to make the finals. And honestly, even a second place here would put you at 10. If you win your next round, you got 14. You're probably in good shape for finals there too. So there's a pretty decent amount of stakes. Yeah, they're all 10. Thanks, appreciate it. So now we get to Val. Should not be any issues here. This Val happens to have a weakness to lightning. Don't know if our team can necessarily exploit that. If there was a way to do so, we probably would have seen it at the Crono200 fight. But more importantly, it's not Rubicon. And you can see the team is getting off a pretty decent amount of attacks. And well done for dyrewulfe at 5336 as our first runner to get underground. We did find an early pan. So that is probably going to be the first check that we see. Yeah, this Valvolus can cast Maelstrom, which is never fun. If I remember right, Simu will probably correct us in chat. I do believe, I think that Val will throw in Storm under some condition. I haven't seen it in forever. And we'll also get a good look to see who the top boss in the tower is. That is a moon boss. Okay. You don't have to check it out right now. I was just kind of waxing poetic about the attacks you may not necessarily see from a lot of enemies in the game that they do have. Try casting Holy on a Behemoth if you want a good time. Well, it's not really. Alright, so Miare decided to play the Grimoire Lotto. That might be enough. It's close. Onward. Oh, no, here comes Glare. Well, Cecil might survive this. Yeah, Cecil will survive. Okay, a few characters survive it. I'm not sure if life is the best chance here because you're going to be eating AoE damage. Now, is putting up Starveil up on Horum, which is definitely an interesting strat. I like the idea insofar that it's going to get, your character is going to survive the Fire 2 and the Fire 3. Now they're going to heal Rubicon, so that's kind of a bummer. But Glare does not reflect. Alright, so let's see what the Self Cave gives us. And that is going to be, if it's a pan, then it's a Legend Sword. Alright, so dyrewulfe has Legend Sword and Adamant and is now only looking for either the Darkness Crystal or the Pass. This, other than the hook part, is it going to be a relatively straightforward seed. All of our runners have the pan, so you're almost certainly going to see them check it out first. Dyrewulfe is going to detour a little bit and check out the freebie at the Feymarch. I doubt you're going to see any Feymarch boss fights. I think at this point, you're one item away from being able to go. You check all the fast checks you can, and this is about as fast as they come. The Lunar Staff will be nice. Endgame. And Maggie did get to the Crono200 part, so this gets significantly easier now. Also, Zeus Gauntlet was from the... No, never mind, that's not... Their rare drop, I think, was actually an Ogre Axe. Does find a Zeus Gauntlet, so that... Everybody else probably has that as well. And it is a Pink Tail from the Feymarch. Might actually want to check that out, given that we haven't found any super OP weapons for either Cecil or Kane. There's a chance it could be X-Cal, Crystal Sword, White Spear, Dragoon Spear. Especially if it's a Dragoon Spear or Crystal or X-Cal, that also makes, whatever we decide to do for grinding much easier. Dyrewulfe is going to stock up on Starveils. Might check the bosses here. I'd be surprised if we see him fight him with Sheila 1 and 2 on the table. Alright, Miare is going to decide to get some random encounters, beef up the party's level a little bit. Maggie just trying to get their HP up high enough, up high enough to deal with the attacks that we're going to see. The magic-based wave finds two moon bosses in the direwulfe finds two moon bosses as the summon bosses. Often you'll like to at least see who they are. If it happens to be like Plague and you have a curse ring, it's kind of a free fight. If it's Wyvern, it gives you at least an idea of what you might have to do to, how you want to approach it, and just the chance that, hey, if it is Plague and you do have a cursed ring, you can get that done. I would still check Sheila 1 and Sheila 2 first. But most importantly, and as Cebu notes in chat, whether or not you need to worry about having an agility anchor. We still need the darkness crystal. That could be behind one of these two bosses. And if it happens to be a Wyvern, Alright, so Chrono gets... Oh no, Chrono's on the regular Kinazo fight. Never mind. See if paying off or doing Evelyn pays off a little bit here. Could at least pass Miare, right? And Maggie does get to Valvolus, so Maggie is just about there. Just needs to do probably about 5k HP or so. Dyrewulfe finding some goodies at the Coco shop, most notably a Dwarf Axe, which will lower Cecil's agility in the case that we do need an anchor. Now that gets less useful as an anchoring tool the higher level your party gets. Also finds a Protect Ring, which if we have to rely on Porum for endgame healing, any magic defense item is going to be useful. So, looks like Dyer is doing some more looting, probably hoping to find some money. Finds some pretty nice gear. Oh, hey, there's Storm. That's a party-wide weak cast. Never fun. But I think Maggie's got this. Between the jumping and the good old Ogre Axe Sid, I think this shouldn't be that bad. There you go. Alright, so Maggie gets it done. Is our second runner underground at 1 hour, 43 seconds. Is probably also going to check the pan. And now it looks like Direwulfe is also going to be checking Sheila 1, Sheila 2. So now just because even if... oh, is he checking Harp? I mean, don't get me wrong. Music's great. And I'm going to switch sound to him right now. But has he not checked Sheila 1 or I just haven't paid attention? It's entirely possible. Oh, never mind. Okay, I have the wrong person. I'm looking at the wrong person. So Sheila 1 did not... Okay, well that's a white shirt is actually pretty nice given our party makeup and that we're very close to being go mode. Chrono is the one who is going to give us music. And we know where Adamant, where the Legend Sword is. Now, if this happens to be Darkness Crystal, though, or the Pass, that's our method to go mode for our other two runners. So, and Heart might not be the first thing on their minds. So Direwulfe is going to change up airships here. Maggie is going immediately to the pan. So they're going to get the Legend Sword from the Sylphs. Might have gotten a rat tail. And is going to be turning it at the very least the pink tail, hoping to find a super good weapon. So this could come in handy here. Finds a lightsaber, not an absurdly overpowered broken weapon, but an improvement. So we'll be happy to see that. And looks like Miare is now on the valveless portion, or the Crono200 portion of our fight. Got hit the Grimoire Lotto and got Bahamut, and now is not going to have. It immediately goes to Val, and not going to have much of an issue here. Making good use of the Zerk. Miare should be done with this. Oh, I'll be quiet because we have music coming. I believe this is a Zelda song, but don't hate me if I don't know it right away. Oh, Super Saiyan Kokiri Forest. Okay. Well, there you go. Let's see who the fight is. It is the Doctor of Luggage. Not too bad of a fight here. Magic isn't going to help a whole lot, but Kane's jump is absolutely going to do plenty of damage. And Dyrewulfe, it looks like, is going to be making the same musical play. So if this does happen to have our way onto the moon or to Zeramis, then Dyrewulfe will be in full go mode. Maggie might not be far behind them. The checks we got left would be Dwarf Castle, Keyless Tower, and alright. So Maggie's going to forge right now, having acquired their Legend Sword. Makes sense. And let's see how quickly I can get the music changed. Maybe turn down the volume locally. Okay. Alright, so Miare is through, is also going to head to the pan, will acquire his Legend Sword, so we'll be able to forge. Dyrewulfe should not have any problem with Samsonite up here. I mean, with the HP divided amongst the actual 4 spots from the Lugia fight, because it counts Balnab Z as one of those 4, you're only looking at like just under 2k. Oh, well, thank you, Dyrewulfe, for giving us the harp song showing. Okay, so it's not under 1,000, but should not have too much of an issue here. And is Miare going to hit up Dwarf Castle? No, Miare is going to go forge right away. Understood. We've all done the go to Zeramis without forging. Our runners are not out of the woods yet, because both of those Feymarch bosses are moon bosses, and they could be required. So there's still getting the crystal this early in a run is pretty nice, but we still have some work to do. Crono still has to get underground, so No, I was gonna be doing some shopping. Okay. Maggie validating their run with the Job Dwarf. And this is still a pretty close race. Did that have the... No, it didn't. Okay. To say, I actually missed what was at the heart, but if that happened to be Darkness Crystal, Crono would have triggered it just now. So... Crono will probably be starting to head underground. is rounding out his shopping. Maggie is heading into. Oh, it was a glass helmet. Ugh. Well, if we end up having to fight the Leviathan fight, that glass helmet is actually going to come in handy. Cecil's cover, along with a glass helmet and a good piece of armor, can put in quite a bit of work. But not what he's looking for. So we're probably gonna. My guess would be dyrewulfe will probably head to Dwarf Castle next. Dwarf Castle tends to be the underground check that if you don't have something else telling you where to go, like a tower key or a pan, Dwarf Castle kind of tends to be the default. As Maggie gets their pink tail, Miare is about to get his. Oh, there was a self-cast in Silvera. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't really have a Iridia to take advantage of that yet. And dyrewulfe is probably going to be the next person to give us look at something new. Maggie does not even check the moon bosses either. Just sees twinkle, twinkle, I'm out. Alright, Chrono heading to Fabul, probably wrapping up the shopping. And yeah, dyrewulfe is going to head to Dwarf Castle. Get 2 boss fights, key item check, and a character here. And there are quite a few characters that this party would like. First and foremost, a black mage wouldn't hurt. Damage is, while not super hurting, is still an issue. And okay, so Maggie follows dyrewulfe immediately into Dwarf Castle. We see the first fight is Asura. That can be, it's not going to be too bad, I think, because of the levels that our melee fighters are at. And most importantly, while the magic spot in here isn't that terribly difficult to deal with, the physical attack can be, but it's only going to counter with the physical attack. So if you have 2 Star Veils, you can set up the wall, and then, kind of take your time. Now, Asura is not going to be Relative Agility 1. Well, maybe with Sin as Anchor, but I don't think she's going to be RA1 at this particular spot, and if she wasn't RA1, she isn't now with a couple casts of slow, so the benefit of having Asura be Relative Agility 1, while it does make her fast, it means if you get a wall on her, it's not going to run out. So this would be one fight where a Curse Ring would actually be kind of handy. If you were concerned about putting out enough damage before the wall runs out. Now, we did see Mute Arrows earlier in dyrewulfe's inventory. Probably, yeah, there it is. So I think that paired with the Samurai Bow is going to be a pretty nice chunk of damage here. But with the Porums in the front row, you're going to need to do Blink first, and that is exactly what dyrewulfe is doing. Maggie taking a different approach, going with Zerk Zerk Punch Punch. Not a bad idea here. The only problem you're going to run into might be that the physical attack in this spot can be pretty painful, so she might actually outdamage faster than you can heal, but I think given the levels of this party, it's not going to be that much of a problem. And sometimes Asura's healing will take care of that. Now, I think she always tends to throw heals on characters that have full health. It might be just me. I don't think it's actually in the script, but it sure seems that way. Alright, so Miare is now, looks like, is turning in his Sheila 1, Sheila 2. You can kind of see the difference in the effectiveness in that Maggie decided to go full Zerk. Entered the Asura fight just a little after dyrewulfe did, but finished first. I was going to see what this character is. Fu would be amazing here. That'd probably be the best case scenario, I think. A second Kane might replace Sid. If you have enough weapons, you can probably replace a Porum too. But yeah, it decides to dump the Cotton Candy Sid or Cotton Candy Kane. I understand this. Now, Yang is the second fight. You can decide to just straight up do damage if you want. There's not a lot of HP here, just around, I want to say, in between 2,000 and 3,000. But after the second kick, if you thwack him with Paladin Cecil, he says ouch, and then the fight ends completely. Fun fact from a race earlier today that we ran, he actually queues up the ouch vulnerability just at the same time he queues up his kick. So if you happen to have Paladin Cecil hit him just before he kicks, you can actually get an ouch before that second kick. Which was weird, I didn't even think that was possible, but it happened. But it's a nice fight to find here, shouldn't be too difficult. Yep, the joys of RA1, the things you find out with 1. And it's probably only doable with your party completely on RA1, so unless you're zerking with that, that's pretty much the only way to do it. Alright, so we see the spooky hand go. Maggie's gonna see us what the item is, and it's the Baron key. That does open up 2 key item spots, one for the king, one for Odin. If I remember correctly, in Direwulfe's last seed, his last go mode item was actually the Odin spot. So we'll see if that comes into play at all in this particular race, and if he heads straight to Baron. Without any other really good options, I kind of feel like Baron is the way to go, at least if you're going by the book. If you're feeling spicy, maybe you get some levels and try to take on the moon bosses. Maybe you try Keyless Tower. But Maggie is going to head to Baron first, and if this happens to be the Darkness Crystal, Maggie could have overtaken Direwulfe despite hitting underground about 5 to 10 minutes later. Dire looks like want to get a few more levels. I would imagine if you're getting this much levels, you're either planning on the Odin fight or you're planning on Keyless Tower. Might also be leveling up his party, because he kept Sid down, might be leveling up his party to hopefully have enough agility to make them RA1 with the Sid anchor, expecting a Wyvern at the boss fight, at the Fey March boss fights, which if that's the case and that pays off, would be a huge lead, but it is also a very big time commitment if that's the case. Whereas Maggie is probably going to have the Baron check done by the time Direwulfe can utilize RA1 with one of his other characters. It could also be that Dire is just expecting to be close enough to go mode that get your grind done now, because you're going to have to do it at some point in time. Is trying to use the Assassin Dagger, hopefully to get swoon procs. I don't know if that's actually affected whether or not you are in the middle or you're on top. I would imagine more hits might actually make it out. Oh, okay. And I just noticed he's getting 68k per. So he is committing, more or less just committing to this party right now, saying I'm going to be getting go mode soon. Let's get this party Zeramus ready now, so as soon as I get that Darkness Crystal, I can just go. That's understandable here. The only downside is that you do get a character check or a free character at Baron Castle. It's not free. You have to beat the Dark Imp fight, which is quite free. But if you see someone like maybe an Edge per se, or even a Palom, that might make things a little easier. Or especially a Rosa, given that this party would seem to lend itself to Zerk strats, and that can be kind of a big deal. And if you're committing to grinding up now, you're usually not going to commit to grinding a second time to get that character caught up. Even though you get triple XP on that character if they're 10 levels below, it's still a big time commit. And when you've got your crystal this early, even if you might be ahead, I'd be shocked if these runners weren't feeling at least a little bit of a pressure having the crystal and knowing that you're probably pretty close to the darkness crystal, and if I guess wrong, I might be behind. Alright, so Maggie gets past the Dark Imps. Let's see what character they get. And Crono's actually on the Valveless portion of the Elements fight, so Crono's going to be joining our runners underground. We'll probably do Pan almost immediately, so we'll have his crystals. That'll be all 4 runners with our crystal in hand, looking for Darkness Crystal. Now, Rydia was the character. Finding Rydia here, I'm actually a little surprised to see Maggie not keep Rydia, given now Maggie might not have checked the Fame Arch bosses yet, but the possibility that you may be relying on a low anchor, and also that we don't have a lot of black magic, that character could really come in handy if we happen to see the Wyvern. Now, on the other hand, the only fight the runners are probably concerned with at this point is the Zeramus fight, and Rydia at this stage in the game, you're probably not going to want to level up all the way to level 50 just to get that nuke, and especially when your team sure seems like it's going to be a Zerg team anyway. So that would be my guess for Maggie's reasoning for not taking the Rydia. But we'll see. If this Baron character happens to have the Darkness Crystal, everything I just said doesn't matter. that's how it goes sometimes. Now, Dyrewulfe is also heading into Baron, is going to be far better equipped to fight the Odin fight, at least, with his party just about Zeramus ready. And Maggie's going to show us who the Odin boss is, and it is Val. Not too bad because we have a Kayn. I'd want to see how much damage your characters are doing with her tornado up. If you get a full stack of illusions up on your party, then while she's in tornado form, the only thing you really have to worry about is petrification. And we have 2 white mages to handle the Asuna for that part. So that makes it doable. The question then becomes the time commitment, because that increases her defense by quite a bit. And if the characters are going to be just doing 400 or 500 damage, and you gotta do 20,000, yeah, that could take a long time. That's one thing that's one advantage that Dyrewulfe is going to have, is that his Cecil is going to be at a much higher level than Maggie's. So Maggie is trying to get her out of tornado form. Unfortunately, that does trigger a physical attack, and in this spot, that's pretty lethal. Now, Miara is following everybody else into Baron Castle, so if that does happen to be the play, Miara could catch up relatively quickly. And Crono, having done the pan, should go to Forge right now, and that will be a 4th runner with the crystal. And that just becomes, do you pick the right spot? Alright, let's see if Direwulfe takes over Sid. No, is gonna. Well, Direwulfe had already kind of set up his anchor situation with Sid in the middle, so it's not surprising to see him dump the Rydia. And Maggie is going to dive the sealed cave. Now, there's still a few transitional items left on the table, but not much. The only one that I can think of that we haven't seen thus far would be the Earth Crystal. And when you don't have a lot of transitional items on the table, then this becomes a much nicer check, because it's more likely to have nothing or everything. And if it's nothing, you can just straight up reset out, and you've probably only committed about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. Where it's a transitional item is where it gets you, because then you find yourself taking the fight, and it could be a fight that you didn't even have to do, and all of a sudden 1.5 minute commitment becomes 5 or 6. But if this happens to be the Darkness Crystal, like it's right now, Odin Spot versus Sealed Cave seems to be what we're looking at. Crono's actually heading to the Feymarch spot. I'm not sure if he's going to take on the bosses, but if he does... Alright, so it's just an Artemis bow at the sealed cave, so we know that's a bust. Maggie, hopefully Maggie did not save over their initial spot. We've all done it before, where you initially want to take... Okay, yeah, there's a separate save, good. Where you plan on having one save outside and one save inside, and then if it's not there, you reset, and then you find out that you saved over your outside save. Ooh, that's a bummer. So Maggie's actually going to take the trip up and do Aquilus Tower. At this point, I think Maggie is just looking at Odin, Aquilus Tower, or the Feymarch bosses. So this is probably the easiest fight of the four. It can also be, it's at least the most time consuming as far as walking there. But anytime you're in a position to do things that other runners are not, and you're one item away, you might be in a pretty nice spot. So let's see if this pays off. Now Chrono, it looks like healed up, so might be actually taking on the Feymarch bosses here. If one of them happens to be Plague, that is most certain. Oh no, just does a ring around the food bosses. It's like, nope, I'ma exit on out of here. Okay. Was probably hoping for something a little easier. I gotta know, maybe a Leviathan, a Water Hag. Well, finds two moon bosses, so it's probably going to head, to Dwarf Castle. It's going to get the Baron Key. So unfortunately, Chrono is going to be retracing the steps that the runners are probably about 10 minutes or so ahead of him on. And we'll see. There's still an obvious fork because Baron Castle straight up is not the answer. So there's still room here to catch up. Now, Dyrewulfe having a much easier time thus far in Val. Although his HP is still kind of dicey, but he's got Blink Up. Honestly, if you're doing enough damage, it might make sense to just leave her in Tornado form and not deal with as many physical... By getting her out of Tornado form, you're essentially giving yourself two physical attacks instead of one, but doesn't matter. Val down. And let's see, is this Darkness Crystal? Does it pay off twice? Okay, it's an X-Cal. He's probably keeping that, given that we don't have like a super good weapon and X-Cals are amazing. But it's not the Darkness Crystal. So while Direwulfe might actually make, if he straight up retraces Maggie's steps, X-Cal alone might be enough to lap Maggie, but it's going to be kind of close. Now we do see Plague as the boss in the tower. What that means is that Plague is not one of the bosses on the in the Feymarch, and we've seen D-Lunars and we've seen Plague, and that's about it. So that means Paledam, Ogo, and Wyvern, and two of those three are going to be in Feymarch. This could still be a cursed Hopen seed yet. And especially if it happens to be Wyvern at the Asura spot, one of the fastest spots in the game, and that would almost require you to have one of your characters at relative agility 1. And since we've already dumped... And since we've seen two of our runners already turn down level 1 Rydia, at that point it might be you just gotta loot hoping for a cursed ring. Now Direwulfe's in a little better spot because he has an Anchor Sid who he's been keeping down. As such, is actually going to head into the Feymarch. And let's see who the two bosses... yeah, I like this. Might be checking to see who the bosses are before you decide how you want to heal up. Or at least see who one of them is. If it's Wyvern, your health probably doesn't matter. And sure enough, it's the Wyvern. Alright, so let's see. Did the Sid work? Alright, so you're probably going to need to lower the battle speed. But we're gonna see right now if keeping Sid in the middle and down while Direwulfe did all that grinding, if it pays off. At that point, you need 2.5 times the agility of your anchor to be RA1. Let's see. Gets the command off? Okay, does get the Starveil off. Alright. Now there's still the case of you're gonna have to do, well, 30k minus this 10k that's gonna do right here. Got 3 of them down already. With an X-Cal, I think you'd like to get a Zerk on Cecil, so finding a Buckeye would be nice. He's gonna try to throw a Silk Web on before he gets the wall up. And does, so that's gonna help. And I think Direwulfe's got this. Now Maggie is heading back to the Adamant Cave, so I must not have been paying enough attention. It looks like, yeah, that's the rat tail at the top of the tower, which is just the magma key. So Keyless Tower does not pay off. That means it's gotta be one of the 2 Feymarch bosses. So if it happens to be Wyvern, Direwulfe is in fantastic position here. Miare is making the Luca Key dive. Is going to find, well, not the Darkest Crystal and not a key item, so he's going to be bouncing out of that. No, Direwulfe is actually down to 2 characters here now, so I mean, he's still at RA1 now. You did get a Silk Web on him. Oh, don't hit Kane. Oh, there's this danger, Will Robinson. Now Kane or Cecil should at least survive a nuke. Is going for broke here. Well, probably will survive too. He's got enough Cure 3s. Because Cecil is fast enough where you can kind of hold A for 1 and then maybe get away with throwing a Cure 3, or if you have an Elixir. But it's going to be close. Had to take a wipe. That's a bummer. Alright, so I was going to check the Assura spot. Find Pale Dim, which is definitely an easier spot. And I was also going to be utilizing Cecil's cover strats here. That's going to come in handy with Pale Dim, because Pale Dim only does physical attacks. Unless you hit him with like straight up fight, which will counter with slow. Or you use a summon on him, which we don't have. And then he counters with Quake. So we'll see, this should be a little easier than the Wyvern fight. So there's significantly less HP here than the Leviathan spot's a little over 30k, and this is, I believe, just over 20k. And with an X-Cal Cecil, I don't think he's going to have that much problem here. In fact, having 2 Porums that have Cure 3 is probably enough healing where you can almost get away with Zerking, and he did, Zerk Cecil. Now Miare is actually heading to the Pale Dim spot as well. Could gain quite a bit and might actually lap Maggie here if this happens to be what we're looking for, because Maggie's giving us some music that I will now be quiet and let you listen to. Alright, so Maggie gets to jam out to Zelda tunes, but Direwulfe finds the Darkness Crystal, which is incredible because it puts him on Go mode, and even better, Direwulfe is just about Zeramus ready. So you're going to see him immediately head to the Lunar... Well... Oh, does Direwulfe have the pass? Am I crazy? No. If Direwulfe had the pass, he would have already been at Zeramus quite some time ago. Okay, is going to buy some Siren and doing some last minute shopping. That makes sense. If he hasn't found Bacchae yet, we'll probably go to buy some. But if Direwulfe hasn't found Bacchae, the only shop that he hasn't had access to up until now has been the Moon Shop. So you just buy him there and you'll be fine. We are having a little bit more difficulty with the spot. Now, finding out the power of back row Cecil, so just poor Peldim is just thwacking him and just doing 1 damage. But with all those slow casts, and this being the Asura spot, Peldim's getting 6 attacks off before Cecil even gets to move. So this might be a little slower than you'd like. But Miare pretty much has this fight won. So Miare might be our second runner to hit Go mode, and Maggie is now making the dive to Feymarch. So this is going to be pretty close. All right, Dyer is heading to the moon. We'll see if he needs Bacchae as to whether or not he hits the shop. Also, if you haven't found Cure 3s, might not be a bad idea. Only because relying on Porum to do things in the Zeramus fight can sometimes be a bit harrowing. Her HP count is not what you would like for this particular fight. So, oof. But if you don't find it, then not a big deal. There's the X-Cal in his inventory. I sure hope he has one equipped. And we find both Cure 3s and Bacchae, which is the best of both worlds. It's not just a song, it's the shop as well. So Cure 3, Bacchae. He did buy a couple Sirens. I suspect he might not spend that much time grinding. Just given the nature of this particular tournament, this isn't a don't come in last race. There is a tangible benefit to getting first. So we'll see. Now, there's also the possibility of, do you want to sling up a character? Now, usually you think, why would you want to slingshot up a character when I could already go up in the go mode? And you're not wrong. But in this particular spot, and this is one character where you might want to do it, one slingshot, if you got 10 key items off the gold dragon fights, gets a character up to level 45 or so. And Yang is probably going to outdamage. Yeah, okay, he does. Yang is one of the nice parts about Yang. As you can ask, we might have a certifiable Yang master in chat. Does not really require much equipment to be effective as far as dealing damage. It's strictly based off his strength stat. So getting him up to level 45 is going to do more damage than, say, a Kain at level 50, even with a Blizzard Spear. So now you're committing yourself to, one extra fight that you might not have to take, but it also gives you the bonus of your Porums are going to get a few more levels, and the more HP your Porums have in a Zeramus fight, the better. So Chrono's actually going ahead and might be getting up to Feymarch pretty soon too, because it looks to be doing a preemptive grind. Maggie is now up on the Peldim fight, so if they get past this fight, they'll be heading to the moon and in go mode. And Miare is very close to Direwulfe, is at the Hummingway shop right now, finding the Cure 3s and the Bacchae, and this is going to be pretty close. Now, Direwulfe has much more levels, much higher levels, than Miare does, but that difference isn't going to be expressed in as that much time because of how much experience that Miare is going to get from the Gold Dragon fights, and also that Direwulfe is committing himself to at least one Gold Dragon fight here simply to get Yang up. And quite honestly, if you're going to go in with Porums, you've got to at least make sure they have Cure 4. And she learns Cure 4 at something like level 85. No, I'm just kidding. But she learns it at a much later level than you'd like, so you got to get her there first. So Direwulfe was going to be doing at least one Gold Dragon anyway. We kind of saw evidence of that when he went to buy Sirens before going to the moon. So this should be a pretty quick. Now he doesn't have Artemis arrows, so that would be really nice for this. Instead, just going with the plan of Zerk Cecil and let him go to town. Doing about 2k hit. These have, I want to say, around 8190 HP. And you're going to see a nice... Oh, did not get the life glitch. That's actually a little serious. Only because that affects how much experience Yang got. So instead of getting the 180k, because he was getting triple XP due to that slingshot, Yang might be a little lower leveled than he'd like. Now he's going to have enough HP to manage this fight because Yang is just super swole. You know, he's got HP for days. He's already got enough HP to manage the Z fight, and he's somewhere in the 30s. It might actually even get... It might almost work out. He might get a mini slingshot here, so instead of... might get a double from the 180k XP. If you want to use Yang as an anchor, it's not a terrible idea either. Now, he's already got Cecil. Direwulfe already has Sid set as an anchor. One other nice thing about Yang, and one reason why you might see the other runners decide to take him, is that he hits that 28 agility sweet spot at level 51. And that level tends to be the level that people like to feel comfortable grinding to go to the Z fight. But it looks like Direwulfe is saving up, has his Yang right around level 50, so he didn't lag behind much after all, and even has a cat claw and a power shirt to go with him. So this Yang is going to be putting in a decent amount of work. Direwulfe's biggest challenge is going to be dealing with Porum's limited HP as it pertains to the Z fight. Now, Miare will probably have to do about 2 or 3 more Gold Dragon fights to get up to the point where he feels comfortable. Now, does not have an obvious anchor to hit the 28 sweet spot. Cecil is probably going to be the closest one here. He hits 28 agility at level 45, but since he's also the method of killing Gold Dragons, you're probably going to see Cecil go a little over here. Porum does hit it at level 56 if you want to commit to grinding that much. But if you happen to have some kind of agility raising item like a ninja hat or a crystal shirt, 57, thanks Duracell. If you have some kind of agility raising spot, then that could just be enough to get her to 28. And Miare probably knows his inventory a little better than I do at this point. Alright, so Direwulfe is going to answer the pressing question of the day, and that is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? Is our first runner into the Zeramus fight. Let us see. My favorite one is always Regen Miss. That's the one I want to see. Well, let's see. Turnover. One nice thing if you decide to go with a relative agility 1 party is that you have a pretty good idea of what your turn order is. If your top character is RA1, then you know the middle character will always go first. So you kind of want your Zerkers, at least your powerful Zerker, to be in that top spot. You can see Direwulfe is taking advantage of that. His Cecil is going to get a Bacchae up right away. Porum, number 1, the bottom Porum, will probably get a turn next if she's also at RA1. Yep, and it's probably is going to be setting up a wall, so might be going with some hybrid strats here. That is one way you can kind of get around Zeramus's Big Bangs, which is to just not see them. And if you're going with a power overwhelming strat, if you can do 40k damage right before he's about to do Big Bang number 2 and trigger a phase switch, that'll reset him. And if you can do another 60 or 50k after that, you get another phase switch and you get the magical, mystical 1 Big Bang Zeramus fight. It's gonna be a little tough to do, I think, with this party. But let's see how he handles it. I like the idea of at least getting 1 white out there first. You know your characters are going to survive at least the first nerf Big Bang. And Boo is kind of scary. It'd be funny if this Boo sprite, when you were running away and your characters weren't looking at him, that he starts floating towards you in the screen. Yang doing well over 3,000 damage. That is super nice to see. Decided to use a Cure 2 with Sid instead of Cure 3. I wonder if he didn't buy. Alright, so it looks like to be committing more or less to power overwhelming here. It's not just the catchphrase of Archons everywhere. It is the strat that Dyrewulfe is going for. There's the Cure 3s. Okay, cool. So Reliant, one nice thing about using Sid as your anchor is that you can get him up to an HP point where he will at least survive a nerf Big Bang. And that can buy you enough time to throw out a couple Cure 3s, and more importantly, not have to have your mages worry about healing per se. And I don't know if he's going to get off enough Cure 3s with Sid to heal up the entire party. But if you get the first phase skip, as we discussed before, then you'll probably get 3 or so Cure 3s off, and you don't really have to worry about necessarily, say, Cecil has a pretty good chance of surviving. Alright, Maggie's at the grand stage right now as well. And Miare actually is going with the level 45 Cecil. Does have Artemis arrows though, so that's a nice advantage in this particular grind fight. Artemis arrows doing quad damage. Alright, so we got the shake queued up here for Dyrewulfe. Can probably afford to take 1 Zeramus swipe here, but that's about it. And even then, it's going to be really close. So he's going to attempt to nerf this Big Bang, and does not even get that far. There is the flash. Dyrewulfe finishing in first place with an SRL time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, 12 seconds, showing a very good example of the power overwhelming strats. And the best Big Bangs are the ones you don't actually have to see. Yeah, that is one kind of nerf. You just reduce his health to 0, and yes, that does nerf characters quite a bit. So Chrono wrapped up the Odin fight. Unfortunately, that's not going to be what he's looking for. Hopefully we see him head to the Fey March. You don't actually have relatively soon. Get that Darkness Crystal. The other hand, the race for second is on. Dyrewulfe now sitting at 11 points. Is going to be joining at this stage with the number of racers we have. I believe only Dia has 12 points. So there's going to be, if my math was right, I believe 4 other racers with 11. So pretty much any of those racers has a chance to make the finals after round 4. Oh yeah, like the first place is nice, and second place between Maggie and Miare has a shot to also make finals as well. So, and it's going to be really close. Maggie having Artemis arrows might make up some time here. Now, Maggie's not necessarily setting up an anchor per se, so that's one little advantage that Miare will have, other than, you know, going in first. This is going to be a pretty close fight. Let's see, what level are they? Porum's sitting at about 1200 HP, so probably still at around the low 40s. So Miare has a little bit of time to play with, but has to nail the Z fight. A wipe to Z gives Maggie a shot at second place. And pull up on this corner. Okay. Oh, and I should absolutely change the music over to Yare. There we go. 3 of them, right? Yeah. So, cause I figured was one person ended up with 12, and it was either 3 or 4 that ended up with 11, and I thought all of them were in the finals. So, they're not all of them in the final. Yes, all of them would be in the finals. So that would now is this Terzu might be able to answer this better than I can. Is this the last race remaining in round 3? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure we're close. And then that one race will probably send 2 racers depending on who wins. There are 2 more tomorrow. Excellent, awesome. So yeah, there's still one more chance to get points. So a second place in here. You know, you don't have to be in that 12 and 11 point race to get into the finals, but you've got a shot, a pretty good shot. Alright, so let's say Miare is going Bakai. Is going to go ahead and get a Silk Web off here to slow down Zeramus, get a nerf. Not going to go with hybrid strats. Just going to let our melee casters do the thwacking. Maggie does leave. Okay, so that's our answer for Maggie's anchor situation. Does leave Sid down. Should be sitting at, if not 14, relatively close to it. Now, if you feel comfortable with nerfing, and it's not easy to be comfortable with nerfing big bangs, but if you are, then one possibility, a strategy you can go with in this fight is just try to nerf every big bang. And you've got 2 white mages, so even if one of them happens to not survive, one of them should last you hopefully to the point where with an X-Cal Cecil and a couple of other beasties swinging some sticks at Zeramus that you don't see that many big bangs. But it can be dicey. Like if you mistime one nerf, that can absolutely end your Zeramus run. And after seeing one dot done, you know that can set off a trigger of, oh, this other person could also be in the Zeramus fight. Are my controls clean? What if I plink something wrong and I cast nuke on one of my own characters? Done that. What if I cast white on one of my own characters? Done that. You know, you think you're casting a life spell and it's a silk web. You're like, oh no. Those little ticks that can happen when you get a little nervous, just seeing one dot done can kind of trigger that kind of thing. Alright, so far so good with Miare. The real issue is going to come when the first full Big Bang hits. And is deciding to go with a Zerked Porum. So is going to do some form of hybrid, because I see him queuing up a white here. Now, if you get a phase switch, that'll be fine. If we don't get a phase switch, it could be a little bit of an issue because white's not a super fast casting spell. It's not slow, but it's not super quick. So you might not get that Cure 4 off as fast as you like. We'll see. Okay, so there's the cast of white. I think at this point we've got the phase switch. So we'll see if Miare decides to, and with Maggie right on his tail. There's the shake. So let's see if Miare goes for a nerf. Or is just gonna hope that... Okay, is not gonna go for a nerf here. So this is the moment of truth here. Does the Porm survive? Now, bottom Porm is zerked, so even if she does survive, there's a pretty good chance. Okay, there's the Big Bang. There's a pretty good chance if bottom Porm is the one that survives, that she doesn't live past the black hole. Okay, she does. 1660, so about 100 HP. That's just fine. Get one Cure 4 off here. As long as we don't see the combo platter. It's the combo platter. No. Oh, just work it. Oh, poor dodged. Oh, it must be really nice to have your small white mage dodge celestial bodies as they're tossed at you, but she has a wall up on that Porm. But I think that's just fine because you got the Cure 4 off on Cecil. He can do this all by himself. Oh, crisis averted. And there's the flash. Miarenoko with the second place time of 1 hour 53 minutes and 36 seconds. Ooh, that was a little dicey. The combo platter almost claimed another one, but nope. Porm dodged the immediate with a clutch dodge, and that's good for second place. That will put Miare at 10 points. And now Maggie, let's see how Maggie handles, is kind of going with a similar strategy as Dyrewulfe insofar that we're going to see a Sid anchor. Miare giving us a victory screen. But now, this Sid, I don't think Sid hits 28 at this point. I'm not sure what his exact agility is. But I also don't think, well, if you found some kind of, I remember seeing someone say that a curse ring was found. So if you have a curse ring on Sid, then you're just fine. And given the amount of attacks I'm seeing everybody else get, that might indeed be the case. Alright, so Maggie's not going all-out offense, it looks like, in the same way that Direwulfe did. Is probably going to have top Porm do Cure 4. Yep, there you go. But is still going to run into the same conundrum. It's everybody's favorite game show. Does Porm survive? Although Porm putting out pretty nice heal there, party-wide for 1600. Alright, so let's see. We probably got a phase change already. Okay, so I see what Maggie did. He switched out the Dwarf Axe. So that was Maggie's plan as far as anchoring, is to utilize that Dwarf Axe on Sid. And once you got the agility set from the beginning of the fight, you are free to change up your weapons and not have to worry about Zeramus's agility otherwise changing. So now you can have Sid switch to an Earth Hammer and actually contribute in this fight. Alright, so there's the shake. Bottom Porm? Okay, so he's not going to commit to... Not going to have one of the Porms hold off. Is going to commit to going all offense here. Alright, there's white number 1. Does white number 2 get off? Nice, 7,000 damage. Alright, there's white number 2. Ooh, 10k. We might actually be at Meteor phase. Unless that was the first phase change, but I doubt it. At this point, yeah. Alright, so there's that. Okay, so we did get a first phase change here. Here comes the shake. I think these two whites might actually seal the deal. Nice 7k. Let's see if bottom Porm can proc another 10k. Oh, there's rocks. Alright, and no issue here with as far as HP surviving, so this should be academic at this point. This cast of white might actually just straight up do it. At 10k, absolutely. And Maggie the Cat finishing in third place with an SRL time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 12 seconds. And I should probably put up that. Oh, not that person. I'm still kind of new at this. And I think he already did cut, but I'll let him know. Alright, so that's third place. That gives Maggie 9 points. Still in finals contention. 13 points has the possibility of qualifying for finals, depending on how the top two. Basically, if you want 13 points to get through, you want Dia to come in first place in round 4. Is kind of what you're rooting for. But otherwise, we'll see how it shakes out. But Maggie's still got a chance. And now Chrono looks like headed got his darkness crystal. Awesome. All right, so I saw Chrono poking Wyvern. I was like, that's kind of a nasty fight. Also, that's what, the second time today we've seen Wyvern sitting at the Feymarch. It happens to be a favorite hangout spot of his, apparently. Alright, so let's see what we can get a good look at what Chrono's party is looking like here. That is, as soon as we get to the moon, is probably going to check that shot. As we found out that Bacchae and Cure 3 were both on the moon, and those are both items you want to have for the Z fight. Those are important enough items that, especially if you're looking at a Zerk team, I will find myself going even to Evelyn Cave to pick it up. As I get messages in my chat saying, "Why are you going shopping before going to Z?" And I'm like, because I like Bacchae, and I don't want to cast Berserk with my white mages when they should be healing or trying to survive. As far as the seed went, and it was a Hopen seed, so it was a hook seed, of course. Elements was kind of a nasty fight, and even Kenazo was not terribly nice. But all 4 of our runners actually handled that relatively well, getting underground at a pretty nice time. We really didn't see that many wipes to either fight, and those are fights where it can be kind of difficult to like formulate a strategy, especially for elements that has like one of the more complicated scripts and is pretty much the only fight other than Zeramis that you have to actually think about what stage your fight is on. And especially in that fight where the Rubicant can be super lethal, where you have to almost set up a damage spike. That's pretty much the only fight where you actually have to time something like that. I guess D-Mist kinda can be like that sometimes. But without any, like, we saw this in a earlier league match where you had a Moonveil and you had a Tella, and you're like, okay, well, I can just Moonveil and bounce Fire 3s, and I can also have a picnic and eat a popsicle and enjoy a nice glass of water, and this will be totally fine. That was not the case. We did not find a Black Magician up until well later on in the seed. I guess the only thing I might have liked to have seen was maybe Wyvern actually being required, but that can be, at the Asura spot, that can almost be a spot where if you turn down that Rydia, you may soft lock yourself or force yourself to grind characters up to like the 70s hoping to hit that RA1. Oh, that could be kind of nuts. And it's also a good case to, and I think Simbu brought this up in chat when it happened, to actually check the moon bosses before noping out, because if that happens to be the Wyvern, then you know that you have to have your agility anchor in mind, and that's super important. Alright, so let's see what Crono's rocking at. Oh, so you got Blizzard Lance was not found, it was actually bought. So yeah, that was actually pretty advantageous, especially, well, really for both fights. I mean, it sets up enough of a damage spike to get past Rubicant, but it also kind of helps you deal with Kinazo. I think it was Miare played the Grimoire Lotto a couple times, and did actually roll a Bahamut. So Crono heading into his Z fight. Let's see what levels we're looking at as soon as we get there. Looks like the only thing Moon had was, oh, good old Golbez holding onto the Earth Crystal in Cave Bahamut. That's also like, I've seen him at Cave Bahamut quite a few times this week too. Alright, so let's see what levels we're looking at with Crono here. And then we will hit someone with a raid as soon as that fight is done. Alright, so Porum's sitting around 1700 HP, so we're probably looking at about mid-50s or so. Not sure if Sid is rocking a Dwarf Axe or not. If he's not, that might be a little tough. Now, does have the turn order set up in such a way. I think he is rocking something to where everybody else has the same agility, but it's not RA1, because if it was RA1, Sid would have gone first. But everybody else is close enough, and has his Crono has his party order optimized in such a way that, well, maybe you might not want Kane to utilize the crystal, but you want Cecil with that Excal Zerking as soon as possible. So that's a nice bit of optimization there. Looks like it, and it's just going to have Porum number 1 handle the Zerking for Sid. Okay. Oh, did his stream freeze on me? Oh, okay, it just really wanted to show 4802. Okay, I do have a sound up, good. Alright, counter nuke hit Sid, that's actually quite fantastic. You may not even need to worry about healing him. No, is stream hanging a little bit, there we go, okay. Yeah, Cecil doing 5k damage, that's pretty nice. Did he get a nerf off on this? Oh, Sid's rocking Maxwell, the Silver Hammer. Must not have found the Earth Hammer that we saw a couple of other runners using. Granted, with this amount of damage, the worry if you don't nerf Big Bangs is really just Porum. Everybody else will be fine. But did he get the first one? He did. Okay. I was too busy making sure the stream didn't freeze to notice. Alright. So, like with the other two runners, the issue in this run isn't necessarily going to be damage per se. It's going to be that game show again. Does Porum survive? is also going to go with a slight variation of power overwhelming. Not completely overwhelming, because he did cast a Cure 4. But I think with a couple whites, X-Cal Cecil, that seems to be a defense sword on Kane, should not have a problem at least hitting the first phase change. We'll probably see at least a second Big Bang though. Right. So let's see. Did we see a shake while I was gone? Now Maggie's Holy Cast had a super high amount. Chrono's not quite as high, right? Kind of just that white shirt was gonna. We did find a white shirt relatively early on, so that that might actually be kind of one of the reasons why you would go power overwhelming per se, is that, and so Chrono is going to try to nerf with the crystal. But if you find a good staff and you get a white shirt, and I think we also saw a protect ring, Purim's not 100%. Not 100% to survive. It's a 2200 damage nuke. Ouchie. But still do a pretty good damage. There's the Big Bang, and my stream is feeding just to show you that, hey, he's casting Big Bang. Get ready. Oh, that's probably going to be a very decent thing. Alright, and... Uh-oh, Purim did not survive. Well, given the amount of damage that Chrono did toward the beginning, that may be the last Big Bang we see, and if that's the case, even when he does decide to go rocks, moon any rocks, Cecil will survive, and he didn't even hit Cecil, so I don't think it's going to matter. I think we're going to see a flash here. Yeah, well, we don't see a flash because the flash is disabled, but there is, and my timer is not accurate, so ignore that. Chrono finishing in 4th with an SRL time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 57 seconds. So that'll wrap it up. All 4 of these runners began with 7 points, so dyrewulfe now has 11. Will be in the, from what chat was saying, the not necessarily the finals, but the highest ranking match, along with Dia, Tirasu, and I believe Paranoia, he said? Yes, Direwulfe, Paranoia, Tirasu with 11, Dia with 12. Miare finishing in 2nd will be at 10 points, and I believe there'll be at least 4 of the runners with 10. Maggie sitting at 9, and now Crono200 at 8. So that will just about